Catherine here from Creative Pages with Catherine. With a shout out to Lenore, I am answering your question on how I cut the diamonds with a collection on one of my recent C's Please layouts where I used the negative from cutting with my custom cutting system diamond. And so here it is. I went ahead and I pulled out my gemstone cutting guide that we get one of these every time we purchase our custom cutting system tools. And when you place your diamond within the template here, you can see our red blade cuts the closest to the template, then our green, then our blue blade, and they're color coded on the template for each one. This is the gemstone because it has the diamond. I mentioned in my video I used the red blade on the inside, and so I just wanted to double check and make sure I told you all the correct thing. Yes, I had used the red blade on the inside with my mousse paper to create this negative effect, but I put the hot fudge cardstock behind. On this page, the other page of my layout here, when I put my template on, I use the blue blade. So I don't want you all to get confused by that. The avocado cardstock, I use the blue blade on the inside, and the mousse page that had more diamonds on it, I had used the red blade on the outside. So I've pulled out a sheet of my Whatazoo 2 collection here. If you decide to do this layout, make sure you like both sides of your paper. It doesn't matter if it's directional or not, as we saw with my mousse paper. It worked out nicely. I mean, I could only use it one direction on the page because of the mousse. However, it worked. So we're going to start here. I'm going to just go ahead and demo it for you all. Start at the top left. You want to make sure your template does have little markings at each of the corners here. And you can highlight those more with a Sharpie if you would like, but you can also see through the actual template. So I can see I'm on my paper here. I'm going just to the outside of the track. So this is the interior track. We have a bump here, and we have a bump here that's going to hold in our pegs that are connected with our blade. And when you put in your pegs, you want to make sure you get both pegs in. So sometimes I just do that lightly. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and put them in now because it's almost easier to do that when you're holding it up. So you can see there's my two pegs, there's my blade. My blade is running really close to the template here. But when I line up my paper, this inside part here, just inside of where I can see my peg, is where I am going to line up the edge of my paper. Because like I said, you can see through the paper pattern through your template here. And on the top as well, I'm going to make sure I'm just inside the track. And I think this is about 1/8 of an inch wide. Let's check it. Why not? There's my 0. There is my beginning of yes. It's about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of your paper. Hold down your paper. You do want it to be straight, so make sure you are lined up within your 13 by 13 cutting mat and go ahead and cut. And the other thing I will say is, every so often you do need to replace these blades. They are not that expensive. And, it's okay to treat yourself to new blades from time to time. So I adjusted that as I was pulling it out just a little bit, or I knocked it just a little bit as I was pulling out my diamond. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move my blade on the other side now, and we're going to do the top right. The same exact way. I'm going to line up my track at the top here and the track on my side here. I'm going to make sure my lines are running straight through my diamond as best as I can, and sideways here as well. That looks good. So we're doing top left, top right, and then we're going to get the bottom right and bottom left as well. So we're going to do our 4 corners first, and this is just works better with our diamond here. Again, I'm looking through the paper. I'm getting that 1/8 of an inch. It's definitely a little bit easier to see here at the bottom, and you can see here. Now at the top as well, we're lined up with our line that we had from our page here. Make sure nothing's shifted as well. And this is part of that cut with purpose. Make sure you are lined up if you know you're going to want to use the negative. Here. There we go. And now the bottom right. Let's get this one lined up. Make sure my corners are set as well here. It is. It's definitely a fussy cut. You do have to focus and pay attention when you're doing it. That's partially why I wasn't able to answer Lenore's question in a short, because this one does take a little bit of doing. Here we go. Here's number 4. Okay, we now have our first 4 diamonds done. Now it's time to do the center of the top and the center of the bottom. We're just going to line up again. Right at that midpoint, it looks like we're right on the 6. Looks pretty well centered here. If you want to pull out your 0 centering ruler, I always say, go for it. Make sure you get both of your pegs into your diamond and cut here. Don't let it slip on you. And now we're going to do the same on the bottom. Lining up pretty close to the 6 here. And you can see, again, by taking those diamonds out, it does help us to get that next grid line. I am lining up inside of, my 1/8 of an inch. I went down a little bit on that one. So you can see I actually did go down 1 extra line on that one. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I missed, instead of doing my 1/8 of an inch, I did the other part of the track. So that was my mistake. Hopefully it's going to be a happy mistake. We'll find out. But again, at least I can see I'm lining up with the 6. I'm lining up through the center of those other diamonds here. And again, I'm going to go ahead and go in a little bit further. Hopefully you will get yours right at that 1/8 of an inch again. But I'm going to go with it this way because I want it to be symmetrical as well. And I don't know if I made that same mistake the first time or not, but that's okay. So now you can see we have these points left. So this is where we're going with our diamond next. We're going to center it here as well through the middle part. So it looks like we're on the 4 at the top and the 8 at the bottom, roughly is where our grid lines are. We are running now through the middle at the 6. And let me see. How much can I see of my paper through here? I think that's probably the only advantage of having a slightly darker paper. I can see I am a little bit short on these two because I went down that little bit, but I do have the 1/8 of an inch on this right side. So it will make sense. If you go to that 1/8 of an inch at the top and bottom, that will work out better for you. Sometimes it's okay to make a mistake because then I can tell you all, hey, don't do that. But as you can see, it doesn't look terrible. It still is working out for me. And here we go. One more here. Okay. And putting my blade in, it looks like I am pretty well lined up. Oh wait, let me double check. Yeah. It's definitely going to be a little bit thinner again on the right end of my paper. Let's say I have just enough on that bottom right. But you know what? It counts because I still have paper to work with, which is what we need, right? And whoops. There we go. Just that one little point. So voila. Here it is. Let me flip over my index sheet so that way you all can see it on here as well. And there is your negative space. You just line it up nicely with your whatever sheet you're going to put it on. And there you have it. I'm glad I was able to show you that. It definitely takes a few minutes to do here, but it really does have an interesting effect that turns out really pretty. And now I think I'm going to have to make another layout using the negative. Thank you, Lenore. I really loved how that first one turned out. And so now we also have these diamonds that maybe I can go ahead and work in on a complementary page as well. I might cut a few with my blue blade also, just like I did. Actually, I think maybe I will do that. Let me get out a sheet of cardstock and we will cut some complementary diamonds. And then that way I will put together a layout using What a Zoo 2 coming up. I'll see if I can find a sketch for it. And if not, I'll just do a layout for you all. Let's see here. Here we go. I think I'm going to do some hot fudge diamonds as well with my blue blade to go with these because the brown goes nicely with both of my browns. It's going to be a darker layout. I guess we'll see if I add an extra complementary color, but I will tell you about that when I film. Let's go ahead and cut with the blue blade. That one you can actually line up just really inside of the interior track because our blue blade runs the furthest from the track. So you can see how far in that went from my track. I believe it is 1/4 of an inch. And you know what? You can tell that by our template, or I'm just going to do what I usually do and grab out my 0 centering ruler. Yes, 1/4 of an inch. Let's go ahead and do the top and bottom like we did on the other side. I missed a piece over there, which happens every once in a while. I know I push too hard with my blade sometimes, so let me get back over here. Go back up. There we go. Got that one. Oops. I'm going to do the 4 edges. Bring that up a little bit. Whoops, my paper has slipped on me. So therefore my diamond is not going to be straight either. Okay. Here we go. And all right, there's number 3 from our blue blade. I missed that very end. You know what? I can fix that with my scissors. It happens from time to time. Like I said, sometimes I know I cut a little bit too, pressed too hard, and then I think that time I was pressing lighter on purpose because I'd mentioned that I pressed too hard. All right, one more up here. Let me take my blade out so I can get lined up again here. And just look and make sure eyeball to see that I am lined up with my other one as well. Pretty much looks pretty good. Okay, try it again here. Both of my pegs into my track. And let's do one more out of the center on this one. Because we have so many here. You can see where our I was definitely a little bit off from where I was before. Hey, if I thought about this, we could layer it, but then you'd have to add something else behind it to do your other. So I think I want to just link one here in the middle. I can't do it that way. I'm going to have to take this off. So follow your sixes on your mat, your 6 at the top, your 6 at the bottom, as best you can. You can run your ruler through it, or you can trust that you're going to get it. Let's see here. That one looks pretty good. That's off. Okay. All right. Let's see how this works out for me. Dead in the center here. Okay. So we're just going to do 5 with the blue blade. And let me get that index sheet back out so you can get a look at that one as well here. And I'll come up with something for it. So stay tuned for that on my channel. It probably won't be in the next video, but it will be coming at some point with our What is Zoo 2 collection. And like I said, I'll check the sketchbook, but I don't know if I'll be able to find one that'll work for this or not. But now that I've cut it, I want to use it. You know, let's not make extra scraps that we don't have an idea or a use for. So thank you again, Lenore, for your question. And we're going to have some more fun. Until next time.